Holy shit, dude!
I'm not even mad about this. I'm actually genuinely impressed. Besides the fact that I almost had a seizure during this video, I can't believe I'm about to say this, I actually accept this. I miss these types of videos. This video was uploaded by #1toilet_speedrunner1. This guy is actually a pretty big account. And I can just tell, this guy is a brain rot connoisseur. I don't know what side of Instagram you're on, dude. I don't know where you're finding these memes, but for once, it's not Vigil AI, and I'm happy. I don't give a shit that I was turned into a ballistic missile.
Shit, man, even Pat God made his way into this
Video. And dear God, I hope that's not you, buddy. And for once, a good, well thought out brain rot meme got the likes and shares that it deserved, man. 125,000 likes, thank you. 87,000 shares. That's actually kind of mind-blowing.
Do not worry, this seahorse is no ulti dead.
Don't worry guys, this seahorse is completely fine. From what I've read, this is actually somewhat normal. This is another viral TikTok that I got tagged in. This person has a seahorse in their aquarium, and we can see that the seahorse is horizontal and sitting in this stream of bubbles. Now, a lot of people assumed that this seahorse is dead. Fortunately, that's not the case. In reality, seahorses that are in aquariums are sometimes drawn to bubbles, and specifically the currents that are associated with them. It's kind of like playing. Also, because seahorses are not very strong swimmers and they are susceptible to easily moving with currents, they will wrap their tails around objects to stay in place. This is something that's extremely common to see, and that is straight up the only reason why this seahorse is not flying left here. It's not stuck, it is purposefully attaching itself to this pipe.
If you see this creature, you are lucky.
Any video with a sea creature in it, surefire way to get me to talk about it. This video was sent to me through Instagram DM. It was clearly recorded in Florida. We can see this strange black creature, and this thing, being completely realistic, looks quite freaky. So let's talk about what this is. What this person ended up recording is a very interesting creature known as a black sea hare. And looking at them initially, you might think these are squid or a certain type of octopus, but you'd actually be incorrect. These are sea slugs. In fact, these are the largest species of sea slug by a long shot, with the largest specimen ever being above 3 feet in length and weighing over 30 pounds, which is quite large. They also consume seaweed and kelp, which is where they get their color from, and fortunately, they are not generally harmful towards humans. However, they are poisonous towards dogs, so don't let your dog get near one on the beach. If you have megalophobia or fear of overly large objects, you probably want to keep scrolling. This TikTok slideshow that I got tagged in shows 4 different images, all of them of the same large statue. And we can see the statue depicts a woman holding a sword with arms outstretched, and it completely towers over this city. Now, if you guessed that this statue was situated in Russia, you would 100% be correct. This is known as the Motherland Calls statue, or the Mother Russia statue. It was built back in 1967, located in Volgograd, and at the time of its completion, it was actually the largest statue ever. For the American audience watching this video who want to compare this to the Statue of Liberty, you'll notice this is much larger. The statue is 279 feet tall, which is very tall, but now it's dwarfed by the Statue of Unity, which is almost 600 feet tall. If you don't see what's wrong with this photo, I'm sorry. It's too late. There's nothing that can be done. This is an innocent looking slideshow that I got tagged in. It shows this family smiling in front of a waterfall, but in the background, something disturbing is hiding. Can you see it? That tree right there. It might look ordinary, but what we're looking at is actually a lepidodendron tree, and the reason why this is bad is because they went extinct 300 million years ago. Alright, dropping the sarcasm here, I can't believe this meme is still around and going viral. Rehashing this, because this tree went extinct so long ago, it's said that if you see one in person, you've fallen into a rip in the fabric of space-time. And all I have to say is, come on guys. The lepidodendron tree is clearly not around still. This is fake. The meme's been going on for a year now. Let's just drop it. Personally, I think I've covered this topic probably about 8 times. I'm getting a little tired of it, guys.
Do not let chickens eat their own eggs.
Money! Taken at face value, this might not seem like a very big deal, but this could potentially be bad. The video that you guys just watched shows this egg that was laid without a hard outer shell. This guy accidentally breaks the egg, and these chickens start to cannibalize the egg. So yes, egg consuming or egg eating is a form of cannibalism in chickens, and sometimes it's a sign of things that are going wrong. In particular, this can be a sign that chickens are malnourished and not getting enough protein in their diet, so they resort to consuming their own eggs. In other scenarios, hens will accidentally break their eggs, they will consume the eggs, and then this bad habit actually spirals through the flock, and it's something that will just consistently keep happening over and over again. The chickens will pretty much just get a taste for the egg, and then this egg-consuming habit will become the new norm.
Would you stick your hand in for $1 million?
You guys might think that I'm crazy, but yeah, I would 100% stick my hand in here, and it's for reasons that aren't immediately obvious. This video that I got tagged in shows this individual holding a spoon and dropping it into one of the world's strongest acids, and the spoon very quickly dissolves. So you're left thinking, if you were to stick your hand in here, it would not be pretty. But here's the deal. The liquid in the original video here is not actually acid, it's Mountain Dew. And the reason why the spoon is melting is because of the material that it's made out of. It's known as gallium. Gallium is a really interesting element because its melting point is so low, around 85 degrees. That means at room temperature it's going to be a solid, but if you put the metal into your hand, it will melt. And the exact same thing is going to be true if you put it into some warm Mountain Dew. I'm not trying to be Dr. Seuss. It'll look like we have this really strong green acid, and it's great for clickbaiting views.
If you see this in traffic, call the police.
There we go, guys. We found it. Proof that the black ambulance exists. This is a live photo that was recently posted to TikTok. For those of you guys that are familiar with this topic, feel free to scroll. But in this TikTok, we can see a black ambulance, and a lot of you guys are probably well aware of the lore behind these. For those that aren't aware of the lore, the black ambulance is an urban legend. In this legend, these black ambulances drive around looking for people that are walking by themselves, pick them up against their will, and then use their internal organs on the black market. There's a lot of different variations. But here's the reality, guys. Urban legend or not, black ambulances do actually exist, and in a lot of cases, these are private ambulances. And it's just like the one seen in the photos here. And despite what people think, these black ambulances are not just designed for carrying around deceased people, they have their own individual purposes. They're just ran by third-party companies. When I tell you guys it took me nearly 2 hours to even be able to guess what this is, I'm not joking. I had my work cut out for me on this one. This is a really weird TikTok that I got tagged in. It went really viral and there's no context. These guys can be seen cutting into this jiggly mass and then yelling after it's been cut open. And even with the insides visible, it's still hard to tell what we're looking at here. Well, after doing a copious amount of research, I think that I've finally discovered what this is, pretty much just a giant block of rubber. Specifically though, I believe it's latex from a tree that's oftentimes referred to as the rubber tree. They collect the sap, and for ease of transporting, I believe they make these blocks or bales of rubber. This is what they look like when they're being transported. And in this video, I'm pretty sure these guys aren't happy because there's a bunch of empty space here in the middle, but again, the translation on TikTok's rough, so that's just a guess.
Imagine falling through this toilet.
Just throwing out a hypothetical, imagine sitting on this toilet during a storm. The backsplash would be insane. The video that you guys just watched went insanely viral on TikTok with over 10 million likes alone, and it shows this toilet on an offshore oil rig. And obviously the reason this went so viral is because this toilet is straight up just an open hole into the abyss below. Now, of course, many of you guys are familiar with what an offshore oil rig is. Here's an example of one, and workers will spend months out here at sea collecting oil. That being said, toilets like this are not going to be all that common on these oil rigs, at least according to my research. They should be somewhat normal like this, and the sewage water does get treated here and brought back to shore. I would imagine that having a toilet like this would be on an older oil rig, either that or this is just like a temporary thing that people can use in an emergency while they're working on site. I've got some bad news, buddy. That dock no longer belongs to you. You need to go find somewhere else to swim. This TikTok that I got tagged in shows this guy, POV, you're swimming at sunset and realize you're not alone. He then pans the camera down below the dock, we can see a snake, and you might be wondering, what's the big deal? Well, I'll tell you. Sea snakes, for those that didn't know, are generally speaking not good news. That's because most of them are highly venomous. And based off the fact that we can see stripes or bands on this snake's body, it leads me to believe, as well as many of the other commenters on the original video, that we're looking at a banded sea crate. These guys are highly venomous, and being bit by one is not good news. Fortunately though, they're not very aggressive. And just so you guys know, the banded sea crate is one of the few sea snakes that spends time in water and out of water, so you have to be vigilant wherever you're at. Those of you that don't want to go out of your way and watch this video, don't worry, I'll tell you guys the disturbing backstory. This is another disturbing Impacto video that we got tagged in. This one shows a school setting. We can see these guys presenting at the front of the class, and this kid right here is clearly getting annoyed. For some context, this happened back in 2023 at the Dom Jackson Damasceno Rodriguez School, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, in Brazil. During this presentation, this girl that's seen in the front here started mocking that boy for mispronouncing a couple of words, or at least heckling him, and he'd had enough, so he stepped up and physically did something about it. Without getting into too much detail, he took a pen and used the sharp end of it that you write with to teach this girl a lesson a few times. After this, a few of the other students sprung into action quickly and subdued him. I also think the girl did make a full recovery.
This king tide nearly pulled her out to sea.
This is exactly why you should always check the king tide schedule and always pay attention when you're walking next to the ocean. The video that you guys just watched was posted to Instagram. This woman right here is walking on a beach in Oregon, and she ends up getting swept up by a strong flow of water, and for a full minute she fights and eventually is able to get out once the water recedes. Now, for those that don't know, king tides, they're not very common, but they can be very dangerous because they will... Now, for those that didn't know, king tides are not super common. However, when they do happen, they can be quite dangerous because they increase the sea level by sometimes up to 10 plus feet. And for those wondering why this happens, it all has to do with the alignment of the moon and sun. When they align perfectly, they're going to end up increasing the sea level because the tides get higher. So if you know that you're going to be walking in close proximity to the ocean, definitely check the king tide schedule.
What this bird is doing is actually very smart.
I'm not kidding when I say this. This bird is a better fisher than everyone I know, myself included. This is a video that went viral on Instagram with 1.3 million likes. In it, we can see a bird tossing a piece of bread into the water and then promptly catching a fish. The bird seen in this video is a green heron, and this is not just some lucky incident. These birds are extremely intelligent. Namely, these birds are really good at actually dropping bait into the water and waiting for fish to swim up, trying to get the bait, and catching the fish. And seriously, these birds are a master of their craft. They're smart enough to know when their bait's about to be taken. You can see this bird picks up the bread, walks away, and redistributes it elsewhere. And by the way, these guys aren't limited to just luckily finding bread and using that as bait. They'll fashion their own bait as well through the use of things like sticks.
If this crawls on you, do not touch it.
Money! If this caterpillar ever crawls onto your leg, just please don't touch it with your hands. This is another TikTok video that I got tagged in. This guy clearly has a caterpillar crawling across his knee, and he's asking, WTF is this thing? Well, first off, even if you don't know what type of caterpillar this is, anything that has these spikes or tufts coming off of it typically is not going to be something good. So, the type of caterpillar that we're looking at here is known as a tussock moth caterpillar. Obviously, one day they'll turn into a moth that looks somewhat similar to this, but first they have to survive being a caterpillar. So, as a method of defense, they have these really irritating spines that stick out, that break off very easily, and can give you a nasty rash. Think about fiberglass rash, but much worse and much more annoying. The only positive here is the fact that they're not venomous, so you don't really have to worry about your direct health. It's just very annoying and painful.
Check this out. This is an eternal flame. There's only 9 eternal flames in the entire world, and this one's inside of a waterfall.
Believe it or not, this is 100% real. It's an actual place that you can freely visit, and you might live closer than you think. The video that you guys just watched totally looks fake. This guy is showcasing an eternal flame, and what's more, this eternal flame is underneath a waterfall. Not really believable. But again, this is actually real, and it's located in Western New York. It's known as Eternal Flame Falls. It is literally located underneath a waterfall as well, and for those wondering how this is possible, it's pretty simple. Underground, there are natural gas reservoirs, and occasionally that natural gas will seep out through cracks in the ground, and this can be lit. And sometimes there's so much gas in these reservoirs that these flames will last forever, at least well past how long we're going to be on Earth. Another more famous example of an eternal flame is the entrance to hell here, located in Turkmenistan. This thing is terrifying to look at.
Now, do not knock it until you try it. It was kind of sad watching them kind of, but...
But what? I'm not the biggest believer in karma, but I'm sorry. If it exists, it's not going to be pretty for you. Perhaps a little bit of a dramatic intro here, but this video has a lot of people upset. In it, we can see this woman preparing herself a crab bake, but here's the problem. The way that these crabs are being prepared is extremely unethical and very inhumane. For those that are not aware, crabs are definitely sentient, and there's a lot of research that supports they feel pain. Because of this, crabs and other crustaceans need to be prepared humanely to minimize the amount of suffering they experience. Usually you're going to stun them using a crustastun, and then you quickly destroy their nervous system, which kills them pretty much instantly. But in this case, you're seasoning them while they're alive, they're terrified, and then they're left to wait in here and suffer in agony until eventually it's hot enough for them to no longer be in existence. Personally, I've never used this software before, but after doing the research for this video, I think I might. This TikTok slideshow starts off by showing GTA 5's map, saying, "I'm the biggest map of all time." The second, No Man's Sky universe, saying, "No, I am." And finally, Space Engine being the largest. Now, first off, when you're talking about actual legitimate video games, the largest map is widely considered to be Elder Scrolls 2 Daggerfall's map. It's around 161 square kilometers. Here it is compared to Europe, and while this doesn't look that large, keep in mind, this is from a video game. But Space Engine is a completely different breed. This experience involves exploring the universe, visiting different celestial bodies, and the width of the map on this game is 32.6 billion light years. There's also supposedly 10 trillion galaxies in the game's map, so never-ending content.
This man wrestled a gorilla and actually won.
Alright, this is my 5th video talking about gorillas over the past 7 days. Let's do it again. The video that you guys just watched is 100% real. It appears to show a man wrestling with a gorilla, and shockingly, it looks like this man is winning, but things here are not exactly as they seem. The gorilla in this video is not going full force, and that's because the man and the gorilla actually have a really close connection, and it's very heartwarming. The man here is Bruno Jacot, and for years he worked at a wildlife sanctuary with gorillas and basically raised motherless gorillas. Because of this, Bruno and the gorillas built a very strong social connection, and they treated one another as family. And gorillas, like many other animals, do enjoy playing around, so Bruno every so often would play around with these gorillas and give them some much needed stimulation.
This man must have a death wish.
I refuse to believe nobody thought this would be a possibility. This has to be one of the worst ideas I've seen in a while. There's a decent amount going on in this clip. We can see 3 young individuals standing on what looks to be a dam. We can see this floating piece of wood, this spear being thrown into the wood, and then this young man falling into the water. Now, the original video cuts off here, and a lot of people assumed that this guy got sucked into a turbine from a dam, which obviously would result in that guy no longer being alive. But this video was actually filmed in Koshi Barrage, which is in Nepal. This is a crossing right here, and the water does go through. There's no turbine or moving parts in here. So I did search for about an hour, and I found the full video. The kid does pop out on the other end. Obviously, there's some pretty strong currents, but I believe he survived. Regardless though, this whole system is wildly inefficient, and using this harpoon in this way is a surefire way to fall into the water again and again. Meaning that you don't really have to worry about disturbing their nests, they're not very aggressive, and they actually kill spiders. After building their nest, the female mud dauber will end up laying its young, and it will also bring in a bunch of these paralyzed spiders for the larva to feed on so it can grow and eventually become a wasp itself. Also, even though these guys look like they have the most painful sting in the world, it's actually not that serious. Just letting you know ahead of time, I'm not going to be able to go into much detail on this video. I'm going to have to use euphemisms as well, just because of how disturbing this is. The video that you guys just watched shows this young woman. She clearly looks disheveled. She's being recorded, looks very uncomfortable as well. And this is from a popular underground video online by the name of Mang937. This video was recorded back in 2018 in Brazil, where an organized group of people known for selling illicit substances ended up taking these three young women against their will. The reason why these three were taken is because one of the victims, Nara Alin, seen in the beginning of the video, was selling illicit substances, and that group viewed that as direct competition. An interrogation of these victims was then recorded and uploaded, and obviously there are bad parts to this video as well later down the line. Approximately 6 days after the video was taken, the victims were found in the mangrove swamp. No doubt, this one's pretty sad. It's another perfect example of horrible living conditions for orcas that are in captivity. The caption in this video that I got tagged in says, "This orca hasn't moved since 1992. We can see this orca by the name of Shamenk sitting in this tank, and every shot just shows it stationary there." As previously mentioned, the orca seen in the video is Shamenk, and he has been residing here in Argentina since 1992, specifically at Mundo Marino. Shamenk has also not had an easy time here as well. Back in 2000, his last partner died, and he's been alone ever since. Also, based on the swimming area you guys have seen in the photos and video here, he really doesn't have a whole lot of space to swim around. Orcas in the wild swim hundreds of miles and can dive up to 1,000 feet deep, but this right here, not even close, can't even compare. I'm not really sure what the second half of this slideshow is trying to reference, but I do know what the first half is. This is a simple 2-image slideshow that I got tagged in. The first image shows this collage of all of these underwater rivers, and the second image shows a bunch of creepy stuff in the background that I believe is a reference to Subnautica. But what I want to talk about is the fact that these underwater rivers and lakes are 100% real. So up until the 1980s, it was thought that the ocean and all bodies of water were just pretty standard. There wasn't anything weird going on underneath. But in the 80s, people discovered that there are underwater rivers and lakes. For those of you wondering how this happens, it has to do with fresh and salt water, and then you need a barrier between of hydrogen sulfide, for example. Fresh water is less dense, meaning it floats on top of the salt water, and the hydrogen sulfide prevents them from mixing too much. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I have no idea what's going on in this video, where this video came from, but I do know what the rumor is behind it. The video you guys just watched appears to show some grainy CCTV footage, these people sleeping in beds, then there's a blood-curdling scream, and everyone in this room runs out. So this footage is rumored to be from Project Abigail. For those that don't know, this happened after World War II. It was a series of experiments that supposedly took place in Area 51 on a woman by the name of Abigail, who was the daughter of one of the scientists performing these experiments. Long story short though, Abigail, her looks and her personality were completely taken away after a short period of these experiments, and she was essentially turned into a monster. It's then rumored that Abigail was never the same again. She lived out the rest of her life as a monster. Obviously though, this story is fiction, so again, I'm not sure where this footage comes from.
This woman must have a death wish.
To most people, this video might not look like a big idea, but this has to be one of the most reckless videos I've seen in a while. This cooking video was sent to me through Facebook DM. And on the surface, this appears pretty innocent. This woman is just cooking, we can see oil boiling on the stove. But no guys, there's so much wrong with this video. Starting off with the smallest thing, the food here is being boiled in one of these aluminum casserole pans. And aluminum, especially the lower quality kind, like the type used for those thin casserole dishes, can actually end up leaching aluminum into your food when it's exposed to extremely high temperatures. But by far the biggest risk here is the fact that this oil is just freely boiling above an open flame, and for those that don't know, oil is highly flammable. If the oil spills onto the stove there, it is going to literally explode. And even worse, there's a toddler wandering around. And you guys know toddlers are curious and they pull stuff off the counters all the time.
Why you never sit in a bus seat?
I usually don't take public transportation, but if I do, I usually never sit on the seats. This is a pretty shocking video that has been posted many times online. In it, we can see a normal looking bus seat and this person with a mallet, and as soon as they start hitting the bus seat and vibrating it, a bunch of dust comes up and it becomes abundantly clear this seat is filthy. Now, of course, these seats should be getting cleaned regularly, but in some cases they're not. And one of the best ways to tell if a seat is dirty is if they have these patterns on them. Because if you've ever wondered why bus seats usually have these ugly patterns, it's because it hides the wear and tear of the bus seat, and it prevents people from noticing that it's extremely dirty. It's pretty much just a distraction so you don't realize just how dirty the thing is that you're sitting on. Here you can see the comparison though between one that's dirty and one that's getting cleaned. It's much more noticeable when there's a difference.
Why you never mix poo?
For 1,000 years.
Always beware of the cryptic pregnancy.
There's alcohol.
For a lot of women, according to the comments on this video, this is their worst fear, and the scariest part, you can't even see it. This video was recently posted to TikTok. It shows a clip of a woman bowling, but really where the heart of this video lies is in the caption. She doesn't know it yet, but she's having a cryptic pregnancy, and in 2 weeks, she'll give birth to a full-term, healthy baby girl. So of course, we all know between 4 to 12 weeks, usually a pregnant woman is going to start showing symptoms, and she'll be aware that she's pregnant. But in some rare cases, there can be pretty much a complete lack of symptoms, and even further, there could be a lack of a baby bump. Here's another example of a cryptic pregnancy and how small the baby bump can be, pretty much unnoticeable. You can't really tell the difference between just eating food and bloating versus having an actual baby.
You would not want to fall in this tank.
Money! Well, I'll tell you what, this video is certainly not a very comforting one to watch, but hey, there's actually some good news behind it. This is a video that was sent to me through Instagram DM. In it, we can see a group of these animals known as lamprey, and seemingly out of nowhere, the lampreys start to freak out and start trying to escape the tank that they're being held in. Whether or not you know the name lamprey, I'm sure you guys have seen photos like this and how you can actually put a name to what they look like. As their appearance would suggest, these guys are parasites. They latch onto fish, they negatively impact their population, and to make matters worse, they are actually invasive as well. Because of this, researchers, of course, were trying to find out ways to remove them from bodies of water where they don't belong, and what they actually ended up doing is adding the smell of death from dead lampreys into the water, and that's exactly what caused them to freak out. So now we know they do not like the smell of death from their own kind.
All right, there is a fantastic eastern diamondback rattlesnake that I just got bit in the leg by.
In this scenario, I'm pretty sure it's very clear what your first priority should be. Go to the hospital immediately. This is another video that was sent to me through Instagram DM, and this one is quite a wild one. This guy apparently was just trying to peel bark on a tree, did not see this eastern diamondback rattlesnake, and as a result, ended up getting bit by one. And the first thing I want to say, I want to commend this guy on the fact that he's so calm. This is exactly how you should be. So what you're looking at behind me here is a perfect example of an eastern diamondback rattlesnake. These guys are the largest rattlesnake in existence, and they are quite venomous. Their bite is quite painful, and they have a certain type of venom known as hemotoxic venom, which basically destroys red blood cells and damages tissue. Fortunately though, death by a bite from an eastern diamondback rattlesnake is quite rare because anti-venom known as crofab is widely available, and if you go to the hospital quick enough, you're going to be fine.
He accidentally jumped without his bungee cord.
This guy was there one moment and gone the next. I'm sure a lot of you are wondering whether or not this guy is okay, and my answer to that, there were sound effects at the beginning, so you know he is. The video that you guys just watched was recorded in China. We can see this guy who's about to go bungee jumping. The workers open up this gate, and then the guy, without checking with the workers, ends up walking off the edge, and he's gone. Of course, there have been horrifying scenarios in the past where people, like this woman, Yesenia, accidentally end up jumping off the edge of a bridge without their harness attached or their cords. But this case is different. While it looks like this guy doesn't have a cord attached, if you look down here, you'll see a main cord. And for optimal safe bungee jumping, usually you're going to have a safety cord and a backup cord connected to your waist or torso as well as your feet. So this guy did end up jumping with one of those cords, meaning he was completely fine.
Hey, Apple!
What?
Even though this fox looks somewhat lifelike, there is no chance of it surviving this. This is another Hey Apple slideshow that I got tagged in, starting off by saying hey fox, a fox saying what, and yet another one of these viral images of a fox partially submerged in water, and that water is frozen. Now what we're looking at here is actually a relatively common occurrence, foxes getting frozen in water. So the reason why this happens, and there's so many photos of foxes being frozen in water, is because they're not afraid to cross bodies of water to get to a location that they want to go. Foxes also live in locations that are cold, and in the wintertime, sometimes ice on these bodies of water is thin enough for the fox to fall through. So of course, when these foxes fall through, they end up freezing quite quickly because they're not able to get out of the water in time, and then you end up with these fox popsicles.
Estoy a más de 8,000 metros de altura. Esto lo hago por mi país.
I searched online for hours trying to find the exact source for this, but unfortunately I wasn't able to do so take everything I say with a grain of salt. This TikTok video that I got tagged in shows this guy who looks like he's just climbed a mountain. He appears to be in extremely rough shape, and for some reason this video is synonymous with SCP-096. For those that aren't aware as to what SCP-096 is, it's a fictional creature that when you look at its face, doesn't matter if it's in person or on a photograph, it will come after you and kill you, no matter what. There's also an extremely famous photo of a hiker next to mountains, and it's said that SCP-096 is in the background, so anytime someone looks at this image, they die. So people think this footage is related to that, but actually I don't think it is, because look in the background, there's a vehicle, and I'm 90% sure this is just an advertisement for a car. This guy had a hard time climbing up, the car is easily going.
Where are these black rings coming from?
What is this alcohol?
Enough is enough, guys. It's time for the internet to know, for crying out loud, what this is. This has got to be the millionth time a topic like this has gone viral on TikTok. In this video, we can see this wide open space, we can see a ring that's black, and even though this is extremely easy to explain, a lot of people think this has to do with aliens or that this is some sort of magic. So for some context, over the past few years, there have been multiple instances where people have recorded these black smoke rings floating in the sky. And despite the fact that people think something weird is causing this, this is almost always the result of fireworks. The same exact principle that makes these black smoke rings in the sky also is what allows people to blow smoke rings when they're smoking, or these smoke ring guns. When air is forcefully shot through a small opening like a tube, there's going to be a vortex effect, and this is exactly what creates these rings. So more than likely, this is right after somebody shot a firework.
If this happens to your eye, go to the doctor.
Alright, hold on there a second, Santa. You don't necessarily have to go to the doctor if this happens to your eye. This is a pretty cut and dry video that I got tagged in. This guy can be seen with his eye over here, appearing a little bit swollen with the caption, "Chat, what is this?" He then shows his eye a little bit closer, and this entire portion is completely red, looking like blood. So what we're looking at here is known as a subconjunctival hemorrhage, and these are actually relatively common. They're not as rare as you might think. Typically, these are going to be caused by sneezing, coughing, straining too much, pretty much anything that increases your blood pressure to a really high amount. Really, all this is, though, is just a broken blood vessel in the eye. If you have pain, if you have vision changes, though, you should definitely visit the doctor because then something might be wrong. This is also somewhat common in sports. I remember getting one of these myself, and I have a few friends that have as well.
This was stalking her. At the lake.
Full disclosure, guys, I'm not 100% sure what this is, so let me know what you guys think as well in the comments below. This is a viral TikTok that I got tagged in where this person was hanging out by the lake when they saw this weird thing floating in the water. And this object honestly looks like a ghost from Scooby-Doo, but of course that's not what it is. To me, the first thing that comes to mind when seeing a floating object like this in the water are deadheads. These are pretty much stumps or trees that have been floating in the water, but they're partially waterlogged, so they're kind of floating, but not really. So perhaps this could be a deadhead with a tarp on top of it. Additionally, this could be a runaway buoy that's no longer attached to its line, and it also has a tarp on top of it. A lot of people in the comments also thought this might be a grill cover, or in the background we can see a bunch of patio covers / umbrellas, so maybe one of those. Either way, there's no definitive answer here, so let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I don't think online there's a single video with a better example of something known as the parallax effect. This video that I got tagged in went super viral. It shows this person riding in a train, but namely, when we look out this window, it looks like they're going really fast. And when the camera pans out of this one, it looks like they're moving really slow. It's almost like the train is going 2 separate speeds. Of course, though, that's physically not possible. This is all due to something known as the parallax effect, and we've talked about this many times. The parallax effect is probably best known for being responsible for these optical illusions where the planes look like they're standing still. The basic explanation of this is when things are closer to you and you're traveling next to them parallel, the item that's closest to you is going to look like it's moving faster than ones that are further away. You get the exact same effect when you're driving a car and you look down on the side of the road versus far away. Pretty much the same exact thing here in this train.
Hey, Apple!
What?
Yet another example as to why when my friends ask me to ride these rides, I say no. This is a Hey Apple slideshow that was posted to TikTok. It says Hey Zipper, showing this ride known as the Zipper, another Zipper saying what, and a collage of images here showing malfunctions that occurred on the Zipper ride. The Zipper ride is a popular carnival ride that's quite easy to explain. We have this column right here that rotates, and this portion right here kind of acts like a Ferris wheel. And most of the time when people hop into these rides, they're completely safe, but back in 1977, things were a little different. 4 riders ended up dying, and people were urged not to get on the Zipper ride because the doors were malfunctioning, opening up, and basically just dumping people out of their seats onto the ground, which was very far below. And it even has happened somewhat recently as well in this case, but fortunately everyone was okay here.
What's your favorite song by her? Is that that's like a impossible question.
If there's anything this video teaches me, it's the fact that people have way too much time on their hands. This video shows a celebrity that most people probably know, Zendaya, and in this video we can see her smiling, and then it appears as though her face glitches, the smile vanishes, and then she makes a bunch of other weird facial expressions during this interview. Now, weird clips of Zendaya have been floating around for quite some time. People also make remarks about her hat, and because of this, people have come up with something known as the Zendaya theory. And this might seem pretty ominous and creepy, but in reality, it appears as though this is just a giant inside joke, and people are making it up, kind of like excluding people on purpose, an inside joke. In fact, this clip of Zendaya glitching, this is the real clip right here, and that's exactly why I'm saying people have way too much time on their hands to edit this. As for the other weird facial expressions, I think that Zendaya just has a very expressive face.
If you find this, do not touch it.
For every real, cool, and unexplainable thing we find on TikTok, there's always one of these videos, the fake ones. So this is another TikTok that I got tagged in that went extremely viral with 50 million views. In it, this guy appears to have found a very strange, unexplainable creature. The creature appears to be breathing, it has a tail, and it almost looks recognizable, but it just isn't. This guy has a whole entire series with this creature as well, where he has it in a cardboard box and he's picking it up. He's taking care of it and warning other people not to touch this if they run into it. And a lot of people seem to take this at face value. But if you go to this guy's account and his bio, he tells you that everything here is fake and dramatized. This is another angle of this so-called creature. Honestly, I think this is just a pillow. I found a listing on Etsy that looks almost the exact same. The only thing that's weird here is the fact that this pillow breathes. I don't know how they did that.
If you see this, kill it immediately.
Alright, it's actually not that simple. It turns out this video was somewhat controversial, and a lot of people were arguing about this in the comments. This video shows a caterpillar sitting on this surface. We can see this guy has one end over here, and then he ends up pulling this husk or sheath through this small machine, and the caterpillar ends up, kind of getting crushed. So on one hand, a lot of people were saying this wasn't too big of a deal because caterpillars are not a very high life form, and on top of that, this was something known as a Telas worm or a stinging caterpillar. For the most part, caterpillars that look like they have spikes or fur on them are going to leave a caterpillar rash. And on the other hand, you had a lot of people stating that all life forms are valuable, even if the caterpillars aren't necessarily aware of their existence the same way humans are. Personally, I think the caterpillar should have been left alone here. If it were in this guy's house, that's one thing, but what do you think?
Are England and France really this close?
Money!
If I were to hypothetically ask you guys, how far do you think England is from France, what would you guys say? If you're not too good at geography, you might assume that they're very far from each other, but as this video points out, they really aren't. Over here on this side, we can see England, and right here is France. Really, the only thing that separates one another is the English Channel, and the closest point that they are to one another is over here on the Strait of Dover. In looking at this, you might think this isn't that far. You might be tempted to think you could swim this, but really, unless you're a super athlete, you would not be able to do so. This is about 21 miles across. A much better option than swimming to get from one country to another is to just take the Channel Tunnel. This is underwater. It's the longest underwater tunnel, by the way, and it only takes about 35 minutes to complete the journey.
Every time I touch my phone, it freaking
Tap it crazy.
moves.
Tap it crazy.
Look, I'm tapping the table and nothing.
I can't lie, when I first watched this, I thought this was fake, but after doing some research, it turns out this is real. It's kind of hard to understand what's going on here, but in this video, this woman has captured a camel spider inside of a jar, and every time she focuses on it with her phone, the spider appears to react. But conversely, every time she taps on the table next to the spider, it has no reaction at all. So the question here is, how in the world does this spider know the camera's focusing on it, and how can it feel it? Well, this is actually due to something known as a LiDAR scanner that's located on iPhone cameras. This stands for light detection and ranging, and LiDAR technology also uses infrared light, which is invisible to the naked eye. However, spiders are sensitive enough to be able to feel the LiDAR scanner every time it goes off when you're trying to autofocus, which is exactly what they're reacting to.
Would you drink this for $1 million?
Realistically, you probably wouldn't die if you were to drink this, so yeah, I would definitely take a sip for $1 million. The video that you guys just watched is somewhat old. It's gone viral numerous times. It shows this guy cracking open something known as a geode, and as you guys can see, a bunch of ancient water spills out, at least water that's been trapped in here for a very long time. Now, it is somewhat rare to find minerals like this with water trapped inside. These are referred to as anhydroagates. There's a few different types that you can have as well, and geodes are on that list. And oftentimes, water has been trapped inside of these rocks for millions of years, completely untouched to the outside environment. And again, for the most part, you probably wouldn't have too much of an issue taste testing it. However, you don't really know what type of compounds would be in there. It would likely taste extremely bad and just overall be a very unenjoyable experience. What you guys just witnessed is the true power of an extremely destructive tornado, one of the biggest in American history. This video was recorded quite a while ago in 2011, and it shows a massive tornado. The tornado is obviously not very far away, the person recording can't really do much, and it ends after this person runs for cover. The tornado that he captured here is one of the most infamous and again largest, known as the Tuscaloosa tornado. It happened back in April of 2011, and in total this was an EF4 tornado, so absolutely massive, about 1.5 miles in diameter. It also caused approximately $2.4 billion worth of damages and took the lives of 64 people. There is also a rumor in this video that this guy who recorded this did not end up surviving, and that's the reason why he recorded this, but I couldn't find anything backing that statement up.
People don't eat this part of the egg.
This is something I had no idea people did until today, but apparently people don't like eating this part of the egg. This is an Instagram reel that was sent to me through DM. In it, we can see this person who's cracked open an egg. They're picking out this milky white part and then saying no thanks, they're not going to eat it. Now, a lot of people seem to think that this was part of a fertilized egg, but that's actually not the case. This is known as a chalaza. And put plain and simply, the chalaza sits on the top and bottom of the yolk, and it basically just helps keep it centered inside of the egg so that it's not smashing around and breaking. And these can look really weird on occasion, just basic defects, but this is an example of what appears to be a malformed chalaza. But either way, these are 100% safe to eat, and in fact, it's probably preferred you see this in your egg because it means that it's fresh and healthy. There's only one thing I have to say to this. I really hope that these guys are wearing masks and that they didn't open this up. This is yet another Urbex video that I got tagged in that shows these people exploring an abandoned hospital and then discovering a bunch of bins that say regulated medical waste, and trust me guys, it's not something that you want to be around. So obviously in a hospital, there are a lot of different treatments going on. People are using needles, people are having organs removed, you name it. Regulated medical waste is kind of like a giant umbrella that contains all of these different biohazards underneath it, and it's something that, as the name suggests, needs to be regulated because it's hazardous. Most of the time, this waste is going to be properly discarded and taken care of so that it's not a risk to anyone, but when hospitals are abandoned, the waste can be left behind. Though I will say, it doesn't look like there really is anything inside of these bins. Of course, most people watching this video would agree there's nothing that we wouldn't do for our dogs, but in some rare cases, it is better to put them down. This is a simple 2-image TikTok slideshow that I got tagged in, starting off by saying, unpopular dog opinion, but if my dog develops dog rage syndrome, I will put them to sleep. Now, even though this sounds like a fake condition, dog rage syndrome is 100% real, and it can be debilitating for dogs as well as the people that own them. It's characterized by sudden aggression and rage. This, of course, can be dangerous depending on the breed of dog, and it usually develops between 1 and 3 years old. This condition is confirmed with an EEG, so it's not being mistaken for anything else, and usually it's actually relatively manageable with treatment and medication, but in rare cases when it's extreme and the dog is a danger to itself and other people is when euthanasia is recommended. This is simple proof that even if you're in the best shape possible, there still might be things going on below the surface that you're not aware of. The video that you guys just watched shows a soccer pitch. We can see this player highlighted, and you'll notice that he starts stumbling backwards and losing his balance. His teammates and even opponents approach him while he's on the ground, praying that he survives and begging for help. The soccer player that collapsed here was Juan Izquierdo. He was from Uruguay, and he was playing in Sao Paulo, Brazil last year when this incident occurred. Juan was only 27 years old when this happened, but despite his young age, what he was suffering from was a heart arrhythmia. And sadly, only 5 days after this match, Juan would end up losing his life in the hospital from cardiac arrest related to that heart arrhythmia. As you guys can see, he appears to be healthy, he's obviously young, but these types of things do happen to athletes on occasion. It might appear as though this woman's about to have a heart attack, and that's because she is scared to death, but it's not for the reason you might think. This TikTok slideshow that I got tagged in starts off by saying, a case that makes me sick, and then it shows images recorded from this person's webcam. We can see this woman with a blank expression. That quickly turns to horror, and we're left thinking something really bad happened. In reality, this is actually from a very old YouTube video that was posted back in 2007, and the video shows this woman playing a game known as Scary Maze. For those that don't know what Scary Maze is, it's basically your mouse cursor inside of this maze. You're not allowed to touch the sides, kind of like the game Operation, and on the very last level, when you're extremely focused, there's a jump scare that pops up. And for those curious, here's the original clip. Turn your volume down.
Come on.
No matter what the context behind this video, I think we can all agree this is not a bus that we would want to ride on. This is a video that was posted to TikTok. In it, we can see this bus driver going down a hill, and the claim here is that the brakes on this bus failed. He's flying around corners, people in the background are screaming, and this is oftentimes posted with the title, Bus Ride from Hell. However, things here are not as they seem. You'll notice in the background, people are speaking Cantonese. However, this video was recorded in Japan, so already we're having some inconsistencies. In reality, the original video here shows a Japanese bus driver's technique for going down these hills. The brakes didn't fail at all, this was completely controlled. And as for the audio from the video, this was taken from an actual bus crash, but that crash took place in Hong Kong, not Japan, which is why they're speaking a complete different language. Just when I thought we were done with this whole mess here, this happens again. This is yet another TikTok slideshow claiming to show some long-distance photography. This time we're starting in Lyon, France, and in the distance, the claim is Mount Everest is visible. And if we look on the map here, the distance between the two is 7,200 kilometers, which is roughly 4,500 miles. Obviously, we all know it's not possible to see Mount Everest from literally anywhere in France due to the curvature of the Earth, atmospheric refraction, a bunch of different factors. The closest real mountain range to Lyon, France are the French Alps. The French Alps are only about 2 hours travel away from Lyon, France, and as you guys can see, it's also visible from higher points in the city. But even so, I think it's a little bit much breaking this down with hard facts because you can clearly see the Photoshop on this isn't even that good. The full video of this is something that we're probably never ever going to see, but even so, the backstory behind it is disturbing enough. For some context, the video that you guys just watched is rear dashcam footage from a storm chaser by the name of Dan Robinson covering the El Reno tornado of 2013. And this clip shows them driving away from the tornado in the background stating, "Get out, whatever this is." The El Reno tornado was the widest tornado ever recorded in existence at 2.6 miles and had wind speeds of up to 296 miles per hour. There were also a variety of different storm chasers out here recording this tornado, and one of them was the TwistX team. Dan Robinson and the TwistX team were both on the same road at the same time, but Dan was further ahead, the TwistX car is back here, and Dan did catch it on video, the TwistX car being thrown, and everyone inside lost their life. Now, it would be really easy to just watch this video, take it at face value, and get mad about it, but things here are not as they seem. The clip you guys just watched shows this guy blindfolded holding a fish over this tank, and then, as many people would expect, this fish down here lunges, hitting this guy in the head, and he falls into the tank, knocked out. People in the comments were very upset. First at this guy for having this terrible idea, and second for the guy's friends filming and not helping pull him out while he's knocked out. Now, the fish that you guys saw in the tank here is known as an arapaima. These guys are very large, and they have been known to knock fishermen out after being caught. But this video doesn't actually show that. You'll notice this guy ends up dropping the fish into the water. That's when the fish grabs it. It doesn't even make contact with his head. And if you go seek out the full video, this guy pops up laughing, so clearly he was just trying to prank his friends.
This is exactly what it looks like.
All right, let's hear it. Go ahead and get all your jokes out before we start. Hope you had a good laugh. This is a TikTok video that I got tagged in. It says, "Can a cactus expert tell me what on earth has happened to my cactus?" The camera then pans up. We can see this cactus all floppy. People are calling it cactile dysfunction. And while I'm not a cactus expert, I can tell you something's probably wrong. As it turns out, there are multiple factors that could potentially influence a cactus to lean like this. Typically though, this is going to be the result of either improper sunlight or over/under watering. An overwatered cactus is typically going to have signs of rot, especially down here by the base where the roots start, and you'll have this slight discoloring. You'll see it's a lot lighter. On the other hand, underwatered cactus is going to have a more shriveled appearance, and it's going to be a little bit more brown. As it turns out, a lot of people seem to think the Washington Monument is hiding something disturbing inside of it. This is a slideshow topic that we've talked about before, but it just recently got posted again. In it, we can first see this really weird object growing up out of the earth, the base of an obelisk being built on top of it, and eventually zooming out to it being the Washington Monument. Now, I hate to be the bearer of bad news or crush anybody's dreams, but unfortunately, the Washington Monument really isn't that interesting. Inside the monument, there's actually an elevator shaft that takes you all the way up to the top where you can view the surrounding area. It's about 70 seconds to ride up and down, and there's nothing else really on the inside. Nonetheless, this urban legend has existed where this tree that consumes people was encased inside of it. So, take it as you will, but it's definitely not real.
How do I meet the strangest man?
Poor Anne Boleyn, man. Her fate was so bad and morbid that she's still talked about to this day. This TikTok slideshow that I got tagged in starts off by saying disturbing or disturbing. Her head was still moving after her execution. She was saying, "Help, Henry, I can't find my head." This slideshow is referring to Anne Boleyn, who was unfortunately married to King Henry VIII, and she was sentenced to death because she wasn't able to provide him with a son. On May 19th of 1536, Anne had her head removed, and this myth perpetuated that afterwards she was talking for a short period of time. Now feasibly, this of course is not possible because her lungs aren't attached to her vocal box, she's not going to be able to make sounds, but it is theoretically possible that Anne was conscious for about 15 to 30 seconds after the execution, and that maybe her facial expression changed. That's what a lot of people say might have happened.
Run.
Regardless of what anyone tells me, even if they're experts, this is still going to terrify me and 99% of people. This TikTok video recently went viral. In it, we can see this snake traveling away from the person recording. Then out of nowhere, it makes a full 180, and it appears as though it's chasing after the person recording. Now, a lot of people in the comments here thought this could potentially have been some sort of water snake. Generally speaking, these guys are not that big of a deal. But if you really look closely at the original video and the markings on the snake specifically, you'll notice it looks quite a bit like a cottonmouth. These guys are semi-aquatic vipers, they are venomous, and people swear by the fact that they are aggressive and that they will chase you. But in doing research online, the experts will tell you otherwise, and typically their reactions here are going to be defensive, not purposefully aggressive.
They found this inside the tree.
This is definitely not something that you'd see every day, but to be honest with you guys, this really isn't that surprising. This is another viral TikTok that I got tagged in. In it, we can see these guys who have attempted to cut this tree stump, but there's something stuck inside. When the guy walks up, we can see it kind of looks like a piece of metal, but really there's not a lot of context here. Now this might not be common knowledge, but trees do actually have the ability to grow around certain objects, even if they're in their way. For example, there are lots of images of trees growing around things like wheels, trees that have grown around bicycles, through roller coaster tracks. You guys get the idea. This is known as edaphoecotropism. So that being said, seeing as this is a very thin piece of metal, I think realistically, this is probably an old tree stake or an old pole for a fence of some kind. It should also be pretty easy to finish this job, just get an angle grinder or something like that.